We need to be holistically tough so that we can handle whatever life throws at you.
We need to be more strategic as parents.
Things seem hard because we are soft.
Can't just be these helpless little babies that can't do anything.
We want to be doing things that are so insanely difficult that hard things that come along are like, no big deal. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Extraordinary Family Life Podcast. We're your hosts, Greg and Rachel Denning. And today's topic, I think, is one of the most important topics in parenting, hands down, in family life and in life in general.
We're talking about soft and squishy, unprepared teens in today's world. When you think back to our grandparents, like they were doing things like going to war. Now today's teens
they'd come out of the Great
having...
Depression. They'd experienced want, hard work, and then war. Like
Yes.
it was brutal.
And now today's teens are having a hard time getting a job.
Right.
Or
An easy job.
away to college or on a mission or going to do any, like we hear these stories that you think are far-fetched and out there, but they're more common. Like parents are going to apply with their children at job interviews and to go to college with their children and to meet with the advisors and to help them with their classes. And like, it's gotten so bad that basic things have become so hard for teenagers to do and young adults that they literally cannot do them. They're having panic attacks. They're like having ongoing anxiety and depression. They cannot function in normal society. And this is in a society that is easier than it has ever been before in the world. I mean, they've got DoorDash and Uber Eats and like everything is ease and comfort. Yeah. And yet the suicide rates, the depression rates are off the charts.
Well, the figurative and literal collapsing.
Yes.
They're on the floor in a heap.
And we're not making this stuff up. Like, we want to emphasize.
Well, and nor are we throwing people under the bus and like condemning either. We're not condemning. We're just pointing out. We're making an observation so that we can all work at being better at it.
And this is happening to lots of people.
Yeah,
this
very,
isn't
very
like
common.
A one-off case.
Right.
This is happening to lots and lots and lots of
So
families.
if it's happened in your family, which is likely it's happened in your family, you're not the only one.
Right,
so
you're not the only one.
You're not just like, oh, great, I failed, I'm such a loser. It's like, no, this is a generational thing, and
Right.
it's a societal thing. It's a massive problem. And so they're collapsing socially. They're just so terrified to have to go out and interact with people.
The statistics now about teenage boys and men dating is like non-existent. Yeah. They're not dating. They're not going out. Because it's so much easier and more comfortable to stay at home and text or just watch porn.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you don't have to go through, and that's even a small example of how this is working. You don't have to go through the discomfort of getting up the courage to get up, get dressed, present yourself, go out and talk to a real woman.
And get rejected by her.
Get rejected.
Yeah.
Because that hurts. That's painful.
And
that's
it's so good
uncomfortable.
For you.
It's so good for you, and so few people.
Because they're terrified, literally terrified of rejection.
Which men have always been terrified of rejection, but beforehand there wasn't an alternative.
But they fear rejection now, like earlier generations feared
death.
An enemy army.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's a whole battalion coming over the hill. We might die. And now our generation's like, I have to go talk to people? What if she says, and
I have to leave the house?
And you're like, well, what are you so afraid of? I have this conversation all the time. Like, what is it? You're just crushed by anxiety and crippling fear and worry. What is it you're so afraid of? And you know what the answer usually is? The unknown. I don't know what to expect. I'm like, what's possibly, like, what's so terrifying? Like, what unknown? Well, I don't know what the food will be like. Are you kidding me? Like, what? And so we end up afraid or beat down by simple things, small things, insignificant things, because we, as a society, as a generation, are so underdeveloped. As I love to teach and often say, it's like things seem hard because we are soft. They feel really big, but only because we are really small. It literally, truly insignificant things, small things, pathetic things. Things that previous generations or people in other societies would look at like, are you kidding me? That's stuff we do before breakfast in the morning. And it takes you months of therapy to work up to it? Like, what
Mhm.
is going on? And so it's a big, big problem that's holding
Right.
people back.
And so while it is part of the tide of the turning and the generation, right? There are things we can do within our families to help our own children develop more resilience and grit and strength. And again, this isn't I never want to be misunderstood. We're not saying we have to go back to earlier times where people were just hard and hard hearted and, had no sensitivity for feelings or emotions or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's this idea of the toxicity of that time where you have feelings and you feel bad about something, too bad, just get over it. And you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, yes, there's this emotional aspect of ourselves we should respect and respond to
Absolutely.
and
And
acknowledge.
have
And that's
feelings.
okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. But at the same time, we have to have resilience. We can't just be these helpless little babies that can't do anything because of our emotions and
Right.
our fears.
So I can experience, and my children can experience a full spectrum of emotion.
Right.
And generally, this is applied to men and boys. Like, oh, you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to have feelings. It's like, no, a young man or a man can have a full spectrum of emotions and feelings. It's fantastic. But that doesn't mean I have to become hypersensitive and weak
And
and offended
unable
at
to
everything.
function,
Right. Exactly.
especially. Right. So there's two books in particular I thought of was we talked about doing this. One of them is The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. And I've actually only started it. My daughter, who's 18, just has recently finished it. She really enjoyed it. And then, of course, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, which you and I have both read. Fantastic, both of them. But
Well, I also think about the book Grit by Angela Duckworth.
yes,
We're actually
absolutely.
reading that as a class for the Habits for a Successful
Yeah.
Life class. Like we're reading that together because it is so relevant and so
Well, and
important.
that is actually the theme of
Right.
I'm just remembering this. The theme of the course this semester is character and grit,
Yep.
building this resilience. But especially in the comfort crisis, he really goes through and makes this case that's completely valid. I think we can all acknowledge that, in our modern day life, like we've already talked about, kids don't face discomfort on a daily basis. Like they don't feel cold. They don't feel hungry. They don't have to do anything that's really hard. They don't have to get out of their comfort zone. And that's, if you think about it, that's actually a very strange phenomena for the human condition. Like in
It's
all
like
of
the first
history,
time in history.
when
Yeah.
when has that occurred?
Like luxury, fantastic. But if you can't handle hard things, something's off.
Well, because it simply does not create the necessary experiences for you to develop grit and resilience.
Right.
Like that's the irony. You have to face difficult circumstances, even something as simple as not having the AC you want or the heat in order to develop grit and resilience. I think even maybe not more importantly, but just as importantly, when you go out and do difficult things like the extreme things, it gives you perspective so that you can do normal everyday things without being annoyed,
They're easy.
irritated, anxious, or depressed by it.
Yeah. Like if I go run a marathon, a 5K is a piece of cake.
Right.
That's nothing.
Exactly.
Like you'd go out and run a 5K every day because you're like, I run a marathon. But if my life goal is to one day run a 5K, then
Your life's too easy.
walking to the corner is like, man, this is so hard. I had to take the stairs because the elevator was busted. Like, this is horrible. My life's so terrible. It's like, what is going on? So it's not only perspective, but it's also capacity.
Right.
And this is such an important point that I want everyone listening to really grasp and understand. Because this is what we want for our families as an ideal. That our families are consistently doing challenging things, but they don't think it's challenging.
Right.
It's not that big
Exactly.
of a deal.
Yes.
We want to be doing hard things, and we want our kids to be like, what? What's the big deal? This is just normal. It's not that hard. That's what we want. We want to be occasionally doing things that are so insanely difficult that hard things that come along are like, what? No big deal. And what they'll notice is their peers collapse. Their peers is giving up, quitting. They can't do it. They can't handle it. And we want our children, and those of you listening, we say that collectively, we want to raise our kids in such a way that they're like, what? Wait, what's going on? Why are you guys stopping? This isn't that bad. This is nothing. But that only works if we've consistently and deliberately and purposely done
Yeah.
really hard things, because therein lies, I think, and from my observation experience, the only way to earn that is to do it. The only way to become tough is to do hard things.
Which for us is one of the major reasons that we travel so much with our family. I'm sure a lot of people, they think, oh, you've been to 60 plus countries and you've done all this cool stuff. Wow, life of luxury and ease and vacation. Well, no, that's actually not why we do it.
And it's easy to think, man, your kids must have it so easy because you
right.
guys, you're affluent and you have this dream life. Like
Yeah.
your kids got it easy. No wonder they're not doing hard things. But we knew that was a risk. And so we purposely fit in really hard things.
Well, but the other thing that I think many people don't realize because they think vacation all the time is that when you do real travel, the way we do it, especially, it inevitably involves challenging things. Like it's just a part of it. So, that's the type of travel we're doing. That is challenging. That is not a vacation. That is discomfort, cold, hunger, challenge, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Like all of that is involved in this process. But that is the point. That is why we do it. Because that is what develops the grit, the resilience, and the strength.
But the point is, we have to be deliberate about what we're doing as a family, day in and day out, and then with the big stuff too. So it's what I refer to as the micro dosing and the macro dosing. So the trip to Nepal is a macro dose of doing hard things, but I mean, amazing things, extraordinary things, super cool stuff. Like we're going to enjoy it. It's incredible. And we're going to do things that scare us, terrify us, and things that push us and challenge us in every way and love it, right? But then you can't just do that if once a year. That doesn't cut it.
If we only did that, it'd be better than nothing, but it's not enough to develop the kind of resilience we're talking about to be able to function in everyday life. And so that's why the microdosing is so important. And that's things as simple as working out. Like that's one of the values I think I've learned for myself and for our children. You've known it much longer than me, that just working out regularly is giving you that microdose of doing something uncomfortable you don't want to do necessarily, that pushes you and challenges you, and in the process builds grit and resilience.
Exactly. Daily, 5 days a week on exercising. But then, you're taking cold showers and working on projects that, outside where it's hot or cold or raining or whatever it is. Hey there, this is Greg Denning. We want to reach as many people as possible and help as many families as possible with these conversations. And we want to keep this podcast ad-free forever. You can help us do that by subscribing on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, your favorite platform, and on YouTube. And leave a quick review and share your favorite episodes with friends and family. It makes a big difference. Thank you for being a part of this very important movement. Now, some of you listening, I know you're sitting here thinking, oh, my kids are tough. And some of you are raising your kids out on ranches or farms, and your kids are working. That's amazing. And you got tough kids. Some of them have been doing martial arts since they could crawl, and they're tough. And that's fantastic. And of course, our message here today is holistic, as it always is. We need mental, physical, spiritual, social, financial, all of it. We want grit, character, and toughness in all of those things. So some might be able, you can go out and put in a 16-hour day working your tail off physically, but you couldn't possibly have an uncomfortable conversation or something disturbs you mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. You just collapse because you can't handle it. No emotional development. No emotional resilience.
Well, or in the opposite of collapsing sometimes is that you just stuff it down and you go to work and you work hard and you avoid it, because that's another pattern that also is, like we're talking about, it's avoiding the development that can occur to create that emotional resilience.
Exactly.
Because that's also just as important.
Yeah. Every bit of that is. Well, even the financial. So it's hard to emphasize this enough. We need to be holistically tough so that we can handle whatever life throws at you.
I think this becomes especially important in relationships because yeah, you might have kids that are tough and can work hard and can handle hard things, but if they still are unable to have that difficult conversation,
Mhm.
that's going
Or
to
talk
play
to a
out
stranger.
with their spouse. So now they're married and they're like, "Well, our response to this was always to just go work hard." Instead of like have the difficult conversation and figure this out and move through it, that also becomes this limiting factor for a fully developed life because now you have this partnership that's underdeveloped because you can't work together to work through these issues.
Ex- So it's socially weak or mentally weak or
And
emotionally weak.
And the reason to me that this matters so much is because family life is the backbone of society. And the stronger the families are, the healthier the families are, the healthier society is going to be. So if society is collapsing and failing in so many ways, well, in many ways, that's simply because families are doing that.
To break down a family and
It's
individuals.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so we have to recognize all of the different elements that are going into this because, yeah, even though you might be great at one area, the finances or the fitness or whatever, if the other areas are struggling, your family is not thriving in the way that it could be to strengthen each other and to strengthen society as a whole. So to me, that's why it's so important that we look at all of these aspects and we're continually working on all of these aspects so we can become that great force for good in the world that makes not only our own lives better, but society better.
Yeah, I love that. And so I can picture many of you who are listeners just thinking about yourself and your kids, and you might have a child that is socially super strong, can talk to anyone anywhere, have great conversations. That's fantastic. But maybe that same child can't handle the mental stress of problems, difficulties, setbacks, mistakes, failures, things not
Hmm.
working out, and they just fall apart. Or maybe that child is really good, has a lot of emotional intelligence. This is wonderful. And maybe a lot of social intelligence and capacity, but couldn't put in, an hour of good, hard work. I just can't do it. And obviously, some might be arguing, well, not everybody has to be able to do all of that. To which I would say, wrong.
Well,
And I get what.
I would say not everyone has to be able to do it at the same levels, but they need to be able to push their own personal boundaries.
Well, yes, you're right. Let's throw out an ideal. An ideal is a well-rounded individual
Mhm.
who's developing capabilities, not perfect, but growing, expanding, and developing capabilities holistically in all those
Mhm.
areas. Because if we leave one aspect weak and we just justify it or rationalize it saying, well, I don't have to be strong in every area of life. And yes, that's right. I don't have to be strong in everything. Well, all you're doing is saying, well, now I'm vulnerable, weak, and exposed in that area. And so if I don't have somebody there to save me, I'm toast. Well, that's not a good thing. That's not a good place to be in. And so if we're talking about ideals and we're trying to be well-rounded people and we're trying to raise well-rounded children, well, we want them to be well-rounded. We want strengths in all those areas, not perfection, not superpowers, but strengths so that they're not exposed
So that
and
you can
weak.
at least, let's say, carry your own weight in a way. Although I do want to add that I truly believe this is why we're meant to live in communities. I think the most
So we can
important
support each
community
other.
is a family
Yep.
community, so we can support each other in our different weaknesses. Like, I will never have the strength that you have, and I would never be able to protect myself the way you could protect me physically. So ultimately, yeah, I want to learn some skills to protect myself, but really, I'm going to rely on you to protect me, and that's okay. But I also don't want to be a complete weakling baby,
Right. Or
right?
completely vulnerable because what if I'm not around and you need to defend yourself or defend the kids?
Right.
You have to
I have to
have
have
some
some
skills.
knowledge, some skills
Yep.
about something I could do instead of doing nothing or curling
Right.
up in a ball of fear.
Right. Otherwise, because then the only time that you're well-rounded is when you're surrounded by people. And
Yeah. And that's
I
when we're
get
at our
that.
strongest, I would say.
Right.
And that's the
Yes.
ideal. Again, if we're talking about ideals, that's the ideal is we surround ourselves with other family members and community members that are also working on strengthening themselves and becoming assets so that we have each other to protect ourselves. And we're not just talking about physical protection from attacks. Like, yeah, that can happen, of course, but we're talking about the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, protecting ourselves from stress or overwhelm that occurs naturally from life of,
Just the
of
chaos of
death,
life.
divorce, unexpected things that occur. Like, yeah, that's going to happen. And we want to be there to help each other. But it's like a chain. The stronger each link is, the stronger the chain is going to be. And so we want each link in the chain to be as strong as possible.
Yeah, we're not going to be strong in everything. This skill set is going to be limited to what we really work on. And so I want to surround myself with friends and neighbors who have phenomenal skills and tools and capabilities that I don't have. And vice versa. I want to be able to bring things to their lives that they're helpful. And one of the greatest challenges that we see right now is the lack of perspective as things as they really are, maybe we could say. And so we want, at least in our family, we want for me and Rachel ourselves to be capable and competent and tough, and for our kids to grow up that way so they can easily handle just the regular chaos and frustrations of life, the problems that happen, but also be ready for incredibly difficult things that will come, that do come, whether it's a natural disaster or a man-made disaster.
And in a very small way, because I don't feel like it was a huge disruption, even though I think it's a significant thing that occurred with the power outage in Portugal and Spain. Like that's a big deal that entire countries go out of power. That's kind of a big deal.
And then they never told us why.
They never told us why, what happened. That's also weird. But it was significant to me that we were in Scotland and our children were fine. They had no problem. They literally handled it amazingly. And, it was not
even
an
a
issue
hiccup.
for them.
They just were like, oh, sweet, let's roll with it. And they came up with solutions right away.
I don't want to discount this or downplay it in any way, but I honestly probably think they would have been fine for a week at least.
Easy.
I would have been like, oh, we should get back to our kids if we can, but which flights were canceled, like all that kind of stuff was canceled. So, okay. But I also want to bring up some points from the anxious generation because he talks about how in general, kids are in these bubble wrap. They're overprotected from real life struggles, but then they're also underprotected from virtual harm. And so our kids are living in this little bubble from the real world. But in the meanwhile, they're being exposed to social media, which is extremely damaging for young women, and pornography, which is extremely damaging for men and women, and all of these other things on the internet that are literally just damaging their psyche while they're also not being exposed to difficult things that build resilience.
They lack real life experience and they're being poisoned by virtual experience.
Yeah. So the social media and the video games and even the porn are replacing real world experiences, which often include trial and challenge as a part of the experience, with these easy dopamine driven fake experiences.
And it's all virtual.
It's all fake.
This may sound really weird, but hear me out. I think I'd rather have my son have a sexual experience with a real girl than with pornography.
Right.
Because it's real.
I don't think that sounds weird at all.
Yeah, because you're like, well, you have people like, no, okay, he looked at some porn, no big deal, and he masturbated. He didn't go out and have sex. I'm like, but one's like completely fake, and it screws up dopamine levels. Right. Well, here's why, you guys, and we've been talking about this a lot, but pornography screws up the dopamine levels so badly that true sexual experiences, which are super important for human beings, they get ruined.
Right. Because they're too vanilla, they're too boring.
It's not even good, normal, natural, beautiful, enjoyable anymore because the porn has completely distorted it and ruined it.
Yeah.
And so, if I had to choose between one of those, I would rather that my children have actual sexual experiences with a human being that they have feelings for than looking at a piece of glass on a phone or a computer or an iPad and then masturbating. It's like, that's not even real.
It's weird.
But social media is not real and video games aren't real. It's like, it's this bizarre, really, truly bizarre time we live in where they're having these virtual experiences that are quite literally rewiring their brains in strange ways. And then they're incapable in real life experiences, but like have all these virtual experiences that don't amount to hardly anything
Right.
in the real life.
Yeah. So they're experiencing life through the screen, but it doesn't include the real life aspect of the challenge, the trials, the sweat, the risk. It's like removing all of the things that actually develop you as a human being, and all you get left is the dopamine hit.
Maybe the perfect comparison is like something like Minecraft, where they can get in there and build entire empires
without
with
breaking
pushing
a
buttons,
sweat.
but they can't go outside and
Build a fort.
a fort. Yeah.
Right. And so then of course it's creating, they're comparing themselves with others. They have increased anxiety, depression, suicide, all of this. And in fact, Jonathan Haidt points it out in his book, is directly connected and caused by these things. It's not contributing, it's not correlated. It is causing anxiety, depression, and suicide.
Yeah. It's so sad.
It's a real problem.
Yeah.
So it leads to, of course, emotional immaturity. They can't handle criticism. They can't handle stress. They have no tolerance for discomfort, for work, for real life relationships, having to go out and be rejected, or any physical effort.
And they're so entitled, they think their life should never be that hard.
Right.
Like the littlest disappointment, and they're just like so put out. Like, I was never supposed to experience this level of difficulty in my life. What are you talking about? This is life.
And then, of course, because of that, they're terrified to fail because they've never actually failed at anything, because they've never actually done anything or tried anything.
So they're terrified to attempt.
Exactly. They're terrified of attempting.
And what do you have? It's a mentally, emotionally, socially crippled person.
Right. And so they're squishy because they've never been forged by difficulty.
Exactly. There's no strength there. Start right now, and maybe you do a little sleep out in your backyard. But all you do is, okay, everybody, as you are, what you have on, just go lay in the grass for spending the night. That's tough.
Yes. Even if you took the sleeping bags out, it would still be challenging. I'm like, because here's something else I need to bring up. I need to mention this. And in fact, we did an entire podcast episode on this. The other key element to it that we haven't touched on yet is we cannot force our children to do these things.
You have to invite them and entice
You have to
them.
invite them, and you have to make it look attractive and like it's something they want to do because of the benefits, not necessarily because of the pain. They have to be invited, because if they are forced, they will literally do the opposite. They will resent it, they will hate you, and they will end up being weak and squishy just to spite you.
Yep.
Right?
They'll pursue even more luxury because they didn't choose it and
I'll try to
understand
link to the other episode in the show notes, because we did a whole episode about how to invite your children to do difficult things, because that's a key part of this.
100. In fact, that's the only way it really works.
Exactly.
Ultimately,
it is.
you have to get the kids to buy in where they want to live like this.
Right.
And our kids do. And we've taken our older ones especially, and they've gone out and done such difficult, grueling things, and they do it with a smile. And we have fun. We actually have fun doing it. Like for me, that's kind of my personal, one of the aspects of my personal mission is to be able to do really, really hard things and have fun doing it. Can I be suffering physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually and socially still be like, this is great. Let's crack some jokes. Let's tell some stories. Let's have a great time. Even though my body is just dying, is hurting so bad. And yes, of course we can.
And in fact, you're really good at doing that.
And so are the kids now. Like they're in, like they're having a blast. And like there's real true suffering going on when we're pushing limits so far, and they're smiling and laughing and having a good time. And the other people around them is like, what are you guys on? Like, how you do this? And you realize, no, the body can be in pain and the mind and spirit can be in joy and bliss. And so it's possible. And so we lead the way, set the example, and realize, man, we can have a ton of fun while becoming really tough. That's the golden ticket to making sure our families are super capable. Okay. Love you guys. Have an absolutely fantastic week. Start planning and strategizing and implementing both microdoses and macrodoses. Get some big challenging trips or events or races or competitions on your calendar in the next 12 months, and start today to start doing smaller things with the kids and get them involved. I always invite I did this, we did this with our family. Like when the kids were little, I was doing workouts and stuff, and they would come out and do their little push-ups and little sit-ups, and they would climb on me, and I would do more push-ups with them on my back or whatever. And they started doing their little squats and wall sits with me. And so even when they were small, they started doing it. And that's been happening now for 24 years. And even our little 8-year-old, she goes out in the gym with us, and she's cranking out push-ups, excellent form, and chin-ups. Like she's full on knocking out chin-ups. Like she's 8. This is amazing. But it starts with little things like that, and they follow suit. And I've had my clients do it, and then pretty soon the whole family's in there doing their little workouts. It's amazing. It's beautiful, and it starts building the culture, the dynamics, the family legacy that we want to create and live by. So love you guys. Reach upward.